So, for those of you just tuning in, my name is Rob, and I'm in recovery from a gambling addiction. Made my last bet November the 12th of 2022, and tonight I just wanted to jump on and answer any questions that you might have about gambling, gambling addiction, and addiction recovery. Now, I'm on the phone, so I don't know exactly how to use all these settings that I'm looking at, but hopefully we have a pretty good time. I'm not going to be able to pin messages as far as I can tell, even though I like being able to do that, but that is okay because we are just going to be here to answer any questions that you might have. So let me know in the chat what your name is, or why you're here, or how you ended up seeing me. But I made my last bet November the 12th, 2022. And back then, what had happened was I put myself into debt for the next 6 months following a 12-hour gambling binge. And I wish I could tell you that, like, that's what got me to stop, but that's not what got me to stop. What got me to finally stop gambling was asking myself the question, why did you just do that? And not having an answer anymore. It reached a point where my gambling was so compulsive, it's all that I thought about, it's all I wanted to do. And I didn't like have an end goal anymore. I just kept going because I became hooked to this idea that I needed gambling to feel okay. What's up, John Henry? Thanks for being here, man. I'm happy that you catch me live as well. I try to go live now Wednesday nights around this time. This is the first time I'm doing it on the vertical format, so we'll see if it attracts a different audience or not, but I appreciate you being here. And then David says, just banned myself from all the major casinos in Las Vegas. Took the whole day to go to all the properties. Got sick and tired of it. Hopefully this helps. I think it should help. I mean, adding some friction, right? It makes a big deal. It makes a big difference because if you have the ability to gamble on just like a moment's notice and you have like a really strong urge to go and do it, there might not be anything stopping you. But when you have those self-exclusions in place, making it more difficult can actually give you some more time and space to think through an urge before you act on it. So I'm happy for you, man. I hope that it really helps out. What's my thought on poker? Thank you, Sal, for the question. My thought on poker is that it's a slightly different form of what is still gambling. There's admittedly some skill involved in the game, but overall, there's too much luck involved to call it anything else but gambling. And in the long run, we're going to end up trending downwards. The reason that the top 1% of players remains the same is because they get all these big time staking deals and sponsorships, and it helps them to ride out negative variance, negative results for those that don't know poker language. And so that's the reason that they're always in the final tables, is because they're the ones that can afford to enter it over and over again. I think that if you play poker, especially if as a compulsive gambler, you're going to lose money. Let's see. I keep going back and I save up money and then I go back and blow it. Why do I keep going back? Well, if you've developed the same kind of gambling addiction that I developed, then the reason that you're going back is because your brain has become hardwired to think that you need gambling to feel okay. And that's why you keep going back. If we think logically, we're going to be like, oh, we lose money every time we go. Why would we do it? But the reality is we're going and gambling because it gives us this intense hit of pleasure. And we just keep going back because that's what we're used to now. So to get better from a gambling addiction, it's truly like a stupid thing that it is this way, but you have to stop gambling before you really want to sometimes. Like if you stop gambling, your brain begins to reset itself. And over time, you'll find that normal baseline of dopamine and pleasure again. But if you keep gambling, you're not going to reset back to that baseline. Someone who's a gambling addict can't just start gambling responsibly and have it go well. So hopefully we get through more questions tonight that are helpful for you, my friend. But that's basically why you keep going back, is because you're hooked to it. It's become an addiction. Let's see. How did I stop? Hooked on sports betting from Ireland. Well, welcome from Ireland. I'm here in the United States on the East Coast. Happy to have everyone in the chat that is here. How did I stop gambling? If you look in the description of this video, which I think you can probably see from a vertical format, you will see a video called How I Quit Gambling. It is a 1 hour long video. I know it's pretty long, but throughout the video, I go into exactly what I did to stop and really summing it up, like dumbing it down completely. The 4 things that I did were finding alternative things to do with my time, limiting access to money that was tempting me to gamble, going to support group meetings, and self-excluding from casinos. But I walk through strategies of exactly what you need to do, to do the recovery the way that I do it. Everyone's got a different way of going about things, but this is just what worked for me. So if you're here, do me one favor to help support this message and get it out to more people. Leave a like on the video. Every time you drop a like on the video, YouTube pushes it out to more people. When we get more people in here, we'll get more questions, and hopefully we'll get some good questions throughout the night that cover something that you were interested in hearing in regards to gambling, gambling addiction, and addiction recovery. Do I think sports betting ads will be looked on in the future with the same disdain as cigarette ads? Absolutely, John Henry. I think that within the next couple of years, you're going to see this giant set of just celebrity apologies on Instagram saying, like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know it was this dangerous. I'm sorry that I promoted this product. But until there's enough widespread, like, public pain, I don't think that anything's going to be done about it. But I do think it's the inevitable outcome. Which was harder, day 1, day 30, or day 90? Day 1 was easy because I was broke and I was miserable. By day 30, I think I was still pretty broke, so I just didn't have a lot of ammunition, right? So I still wanted to gamble. There were still urges, but I just couldn't really act on them anyway, even if I wanted to. I would say right around day 90 or like day 100, that's when things started to get a little more difficult because it became real. I started to have to deal with negative emotions. I started to have to think about, what do I want to do other than not gamble? And eventually I found content and making stuff like this to be really meaningful and purposeful in my life. But I would say like right around that 90-day mark, even though life was like admittedly getting better, it was pretty difficult to just kind of, what's the right way of saying it? It was just difficult to readjust to life without it. And it became real at that point because the money was coming back and the temptations were there. So, oh, Wesley, thank you so much for supporting the channel, my friend. I really appreciate that. And you've been clean for 3 years. Congratulations. That's awesome. I'm coming up on 3 years as well. I'm happy to have you as a part of this community, man. I really appreciate it. If I don't mind sharing, what's the closest I've come to relapsing since my last bet? Stock options. Absolutely stock options, without a doubt. I would love to make more videos about it, but it just doesn't feel like it's as widespread as sports betting is, or at least not as a trending topic. But I like implicitly understand that I'm supposed to lose money if I gamble, right? If I go to make a sports bet, if I go to a casino, if I play any kind of casino game, I'm supposed to lose money in the long run. When it comes to stock options, I know it's a zero-sum game. Someone wins, someone loses, the same as anything else. But I really struggled to see like why it had to be that I would lose money. And the truth is, you can make money trading, but if you're addicted to gambling, you keep going. And if you keep going over and over and over again, even if you have a 60% chance of winning, that one time that you don't, you go broke. And so I have to recognize that I'm someone that once I start gambling, I do not stop gambling. And that was the closest that I've come with stock options for sure. Luis, thanks for the love. I'm going to keep spreading this message. And the number one way that you guys can support, other than being subscribed to the channel, is just leaving likes on videos, dropping comments, just being around. If you engage with the pieces of content that show up, it sends so many good signals to YouTube, and YouTube pushes it out to more people that might be struggling. I do everything that I can. I work with my team each and every day to try to make better videos, to try to optimize those videos to reach the audiences that we're trying to reach. But at the end of the day, it's you guys, right? I'm making the videos, but if you don't watch them, if you don't engage with them, no one finds them again, right? It has to be that the audience wants the video. And so with that being said, if you have any types of videos that you'd really like to see, please do let me know in the comments. I do my best to make videos that people send me, that people put in the comments. And I think for the most part, we're pretty good at that, but there's always new topics popping up. And so pop anything in there that you want. Zesty Lemon, thank you for the love. I'm really happy that you haven't gambled for 3 months and that my stuff's been pivotal in that. What I always like to say when people give me a compliment is like, thank you so much for being here, for watching the videos. But remember that you're the one that's putting in the work. I didn't make you stop. I'm not the one holding your hand. We don't even know each other. So even though the content can be helping, make sure that you're staying proud of yourself for all the work that you're putting in to stay clean. That's awesome. Josh, yes, I have 4 billboards up in Center City, Philadelphia that say, scan this if you lost your parlay. And it's been doing decent in terms of web traffic. It's about doubled the amount of website visits that I've gotten. Nothing like exponential or off the charts relative to like the rest of the world, but it's clear that it's a type of marketing that could work if a bunch of money was invested into it. And that's the entire goal here. Can we create a form of advertising that foundations and companies like that would want to fund that can help people with gambling problems? And I think we're on the right track. So I'm going to be putting up a video about that. Let me check the date that I'm going to do that. on hopefully the 13th of November. There should be kind of like a summary video of how the billboard ads went. You don't believe that YouTube wants to promote this kind of videos because casinos advertise on the platform. Yeah, I think like conspiracy theory type thing that could be true. I think what's more likely to be true is that you're kind of soft. You're kind of soft shadow banned when you make content about addiction until you reach like a really significant size. And what I mean by that is like I'm never going to have as many views on an average video as someone who makes gambling content because simply putting the word addiction, mental health, illness, sickness, these types of words into the video itself, not just the title and thumbnail, but just into the video, it actually leads to YouTube restricting the type of audience that it shows it to. So I don't show up among like general entertainment type content. I usually show up in the education, edutainment kind of space. And so if people find my content, it's usually not an accident, is the truth. Do I think Vegas is struggling because people are gambling less, or is it just the rise of online gambling where people don't need to go to Vegas to gamble? I think that's the case, right? Like, people are definitely not gambling less. The format in which people are gambling has begun to change. Why go to a Vegas and spend X number of dollars to get there and stay there when all that money could go into gambling, right? That's the thought that a lot of people are having. So they just stay online or they go more local. But yeah, I do think we're going to experience rather quickly the death of brick and mortar casinos. It's just it's just kind of losing its allure. Patricia, thank you so much for being here and for continuing to support the channel. I think that no matter how many like views a video gets, how many subscribers a channel gets, I'm always going to remember like very specific names when they pop up again, especially going live here and on TikTok. Like I've just been live so many times that like I remember like certain names popping up all the time as like the channel OGs. And so I just want to thank you for being here. Now that we're 12 minutes in, it's my obligatory plug time. This is not a paid sponsorship, but this video is being endorsed by Open Recovery. They have an AI chatbot to help you through the 12 steps of recovery and to kind of be there if you have any questions during the recovery process. In the description of this video is a link over to their website. So go and check it out. But no pressure either way. Again, not a paid advertisement, just like what they do. I like the people over there. And they wanted to do a weekly meeting or a weekly stream. And I said, sure, I'll toss your name on one. No problem at all. I'm not sure why certain media outlets are saying Vegas is dying. I've been there 10 times in the year and it's been packed every time. I mean, if you go on like a weekend, I'm sure that it's going to be packed, right? And what I think it's more is not like everything is empty. I think that the overall trend is fewer visits and less entertainment spend in Vegas. But I mean, it's kind of venturing off into a topic that's more like, why is an entertainment-based industry starting to fail? And it's just because there's cheaper alternatives is the truth. So let me know if you have any questions about gambling, gambling addiction, or addiction recovery. I'm here to answer your questions. Let's do it. Bill, ban yourself. Now you found the offshore crypto site that won't ban you. Yeah, can't seem to stop. Any thoughts? That's when something like a Gamban comes in. They are an app that you can download on your devices or your computer to block gambling apps and websites. The truth is, this is the honest truth. You are always going to be able to gamble, no matter if you've self-excluded, no matter what you do. You're always going to be able to do it. So you need to make it difficult. And then over the long run, as your brain begins to heal with kind of toughing through the beginning and doing the things to make it more difficult, it'll slowly become something that you want to do less and less. But you have to get through those first couple weeks, those first couple months. And a way to do that to make it more difficult to gamble is an app such as Gamban to block gambling apps and websites on your devices. Really suffering from gambling and have a really crazy story about it. Would love to get on your pod and share the story. Yeah, hit me up, Andrew. Would love to have it. Anyone that wants to share their story, in the profile of this YouTube page, you should see something like a contact section. And if you click on that, it'll give you my email. And you just send me an email and we'll get something going. I love bringing on most people that send me a message. I just get a little bit of background about your story. And then 9 times out of 10, we set a date a couple weeks out and we record. Day 851 without gambling. Congratulations. Is that you, Alex? I can't see the icon, but congratulations. How do you fight urges when you've decided you're going to a casino to gamble, but you don't really want to? Well, I'm not quite sure. So you're driving in this scenario, you're driving to a casino, um, but you don't want to drive to the casino. Is that what you're saying? Because I guess in that case, the thing that would come to mind is to call a sponsor, is to call someone and say, "Hey, I'm driving to a casino." Um, don't even try to fight the urge by yourself. Just say like, "All right, I'm driving to this casino. I'm doing it, but I'm gonna call someone and tell them." They're gonna try to talk you out of it, which is the whole point of calling them. But realistically, it sounds like you've made the decision for yourself at this point. And here's the tough part, right? I see that your name is AA dash something. If that refers to Alcoholics Anonymous, then you would know this. Like, if someone doesn't want to stop, there's not much you can do, right? People can try to talk you off the ledge. They can talk to you, say like, "Hey, man, you don't actually want to do this. Remember the harm. This is a bad thing." But at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do for someone that doesn't want to stop. Um, and it is what it is. Okay, we got some love in the chat. I like that. I like that. And then we got from Adam, I don't know if you said before, but what was your biggest win and what sport was it on? No worries if you don't like specifying amounts, just ignore this. I think rather than ignoring it, man, I'm going to ask you a question in response. Why do you want to know? A lot of times, this is what I found just from years of doing live streaming now. People will ask me that question, either how much did you win or how much did you lose, because they want to justify their own behavior. And so what I usually see is something like this. Rob, how much was your biggest loss? If I give you an answer and it's more than what you lost, you would say, oh, well, that means I don't have a gambling addiction because you're addicted, but I'm not. I didn't lose that much. What I rather like to say is something to this extent. Over the 6 years that I was gambling, I went into debt 6 separate times to the point that I had to work a second job to pay off that debt. I had gambled to the point where I had no more access to resources and I was in debt 6 times. If that doesn't explain it, usually the person that's hearing it doesn't actually have a gambling problem. But if that is sounding more like your experience, maybe not the number 6, but just at all going into debt because of gambling, then the hope is that you begin to kind of understand. But that's why. So sorry for the long, convoluted answer. That's the only reason that I do it. But guys, if you're in the chat, do me a favor and leave a like on this video. If we get some likes on the video, it'll get pushed out to more people. I see that we have 12 likes on the video. If we can get that up to like 15, then I think YouTube should push this out to more people. And it's really the free #1 way that you can support the channel. And it's the same with any video that pops up from this channel. Just hit that button, like, subscribe, whatever it is, because it gets it pushed out to a larger audience. As I was saying a little bit earlier, I try to make the best videos I can. I try to talk about my experiences, share the experiences of others who are brave enough to share. But at the end of the day, you know, if you guys don't engage with the content, it doesn't get out to maybe someone that otherwise would have needed it. If you have had a long-running gambling addiction, you're in the right spot because my name's Rob and I'm in recovery from a gambling addiction. So I make videos about it here on the ODAT Gambling Awareness channel. If you gambled today, let's figure out why. What made you gamble today, Andres? I'm from the United States, East Coast, Jed. You're committed to stop from this week? Perfect, you're in the right spot. And in the description of this video, there is a 1 hour, I know it's very long, but I promise it's worth it, 1 hour long video on how I quit gambling. And it walks you through everything that I've done to get almost now 3 years clean from gambling. Doesn't mean it's the only way to quit, but it's the way that I did. And so I'm doing my best to kind of just share my experience with you. But yeah, any questions you have about gambling, gambling addiction, and addiction recovery, drop them in the chat, whether you're watching this live or a year from now, whenever this comes onto your feed. I appreciate you being here nonetheless, taking time to hear from me. Let's see. And yeah, again, if you have any like types of videos that you really want to see, you can let me know in the chat as well. I do my best to make videos on topics that the audience asks for, especially when it's like widely applicable to the entire audience. You need to go to a GM meeting in San Diego. I was in San Diego, love San Diego, great place. Hopefully you're able to find a meeting. I know that they're on the directory if you go to gamblersanonymous.org. Thank you, Pickle. I appreciate that. They say the content is amazing. Keep it up. It's helping a lot of people, and I'm shocked it isn't more popular. The gambling craze is out of control. You know, it's not about necessarily being popular. It's about reaching the people that are struggling. With that being said, you know, we're looking at a couple million people in the United States alone struggling. So hopefully this account can start to reach more people. And it's just about getting these videos in front of people because for so long, I was gambling just mindlessly, and I never stopped and asked myself, like, why are you doing this? And so just even having one of these videos come across to be like, oh yeah, gambling addiction is a real thing, I forgot. Like, there's a lot of value in that for someone who's kind of living in that delirious, like, I'm just gonna gamble all day, every day kind of thing. All right, let's see. Echo says, this is like dopamine addiction, or I don't know. Could you tell me some words about it? This is basically a dopamine addiction. There's other neurochemicals that are going on when it comes to a gambling addiction or any kind of addiction. But essentially what's happening is you're building up a tolerance for the amounts that you were gambling before. You have to keep betting more and more, or at least more often, to keep getting that same thrill from gambling that you got in the beginning. And someone who develops a gambling addiction has reached a point where they feel like they depend on gambling to feel anything. It's the preferred source of pleasure and dopamine, as you kind of got to, and it's true sickness. What's up, Shreya? How you doing? My opinion on pro poker players is, we actually touched on this a little bit earlier. The reason that they're able to sustain themselves is because of staking and sponsorship deals. The same people show up at the final tables every year because the same people are buying in over and over again every single year. So I think that the average person is not going to be a professional poker player, and the only way that it's sustainable is if you are sponsored. The gambling aspect of it itself is indeed gambling. Speaking of ridiculous gambling ads, I sat at the dentist today and there was an endless ad for DraftKings. Well, that sounds just like purgatory. That sounds awful. Just the dentist and DraftKings in one spot. That's terrible. So I am sorry to hear that. But yeah, the gambling ads are pretty relentless. Of course, we make videos here on the channel all the time talking about the gambling advertising scene and just how manipulative it actually is. I just did an interview today with a pretty big news outlet in the United States. It's going to be airing. I'll talk about it maybe next week. But we had a major focus on gambling advertising. And the thing that I said we should be doing, just even as like a first thing to do to start, is like if you look at an ad for something like Charles Schwab or Robinhood, there's a big disclaimer on the bottom that says if you invest money with our brokerage, you might lose it. Whereas with the gambling ad, it says, hey, call us if you have a problem, loser. And so, like, what the hell is that about? Why are we implying that you're not going to lose money with gambling? I think we need like an addictive label on it, like we have with drugs and alcohol. And like if you look at cigarettes in the United Kingdom or in Europe, there's like things that say, hey, this is a dangerous and addictive product. And then just literally say, you might lose money if you do this. It's just a start. It gets the ball rolling. But right now, they're marketing themselves like they're entertainment, and they are profiting like they are not entertainment. What do I wish I conceptualized sooner in my recovery? Was there a particular moment that it just clicked? What I wish that I had done sooner is utilize negatives as learning lessons. Because in the beginning, when you've just made a mistake, admittedly, and you've put yourself into debt, it's really easy to just beat yourself up about it, to say, I can't believe I did that. I should have stopped while I was ahead. Why did I just do that kind of thing? But I think it would be more valuable if you said, okay, I went to gambling today because I was bored. Okay, I gambled today because I was feeling financially behind. Because once you start to identify the reasons that you were doing something, you can use them to inform future plans. To say like, okay, the next time I feel bored, instead of gambling, I'm going to do this. Make them like clear and well-defined, instead of just beating yourself up over mistakes that you made. Martin, thank you for the love, my friend. I appreciate that. How did I quit? How did I do it? Check the description of this video for a 1 hour long video on how I quit gambling, but I found alternative things to do with my time, limited my access to money that would tempt me, self-excluded from the casinos, and went to support group meetings. That's really summarizing it in just a couple of sentences. Do I watch gambling content creators? Do you think they help or hurt addicts? I do not watch any unless they pop up on TikTok, and it's just kind of inevitable that they do. Do they help or hurt addicts? They hurt addicts, absolutely. Whether expressly or just by accident. So either they're getting you to sign up and they're profiting off of you, or their gambling is making you remember the positive things about gambling, or not allowing your brain the space to heal without thinking about gambling, and so you go back to it. With that being said, though, I am actually looking to get in contact with a couple of gambling creators because I want to make some content to the extent of like gambling addict versus professional gambler, quote unquote, gambling influencer debate. And I want to do some debates against some of these guys to just see what their mindset was when they started making their content. Do they know how much damage they're actually doing? I don't know. We're going to hopefully find out. Let's see. Been gambling for 30 years, Eldon says. Lost absolutely everything I had from playing blackjack, craps, and poker. It took me everything I had and luck in life over the last 15 years to get it back. I'm sorry to hear about the 30 years that you were gambling, my friend. Hopefully, life is beginning to get better. Or if it's been 15 years since your last bet, that is awesome. Oh, you said you still gamble, but it's not as much. You know what? Understanding your pattern and behavior with it is the first step. That's what it's about. I'm never going to say like it's a bad thing to gamble less, right? Like it's obviously a good thing. For me, I'm someone that can't just gamble less. I will spiral inevitably. And so I always say that it's good to pursue this idea of abstinence, but it's really tough and preachy to like say like you can never gamble again, right? So I just like to tell people to understand their patterns of behavior and ask yourself the question, why did I just do that? The day that you don't have an answer anymore should be the day that you're making a change. Steve says, pisses me off that people like the UFC guy, Dana White, act like they are making millions playing blackjack. Young people believe him. They absolutely do. And in fact, Drake and Aiden Ross are currently being sued in Missouri over just this. They're misleading audiences to think that their chances of winning in gambling are different than they actually are. They're glamorizing a lifestyle that really isn't funded by gambling, but they're saying that it is. And they're putting kids in this position where they're wanting to become professional gamblers. So I have a video coming out on that tomorrow. Hopefully you guys are subscribed so you get a notification when it goes live. Should be sometime in the afternoon Eastern time tomorrow. We're still working on the edits, but it's going to be about the Drake and Aiden Ross lawsuit. Stop while you're up or just know when to leave is a stupid concept. If you leave a winner, you'll be back even sooner and proceed to lose it eventually. Yep, I like to say that all wins are just future losses, but this idea of stop when you're up or just know when to leave is things that the casino will say to put the blame of a gambling addiction on the person that develops the problem, right? They're leading everyone to believe that someone who has a gambling addiction is greedy, they lack willpower, they're stupid, they're making bad mistakes, they have no self-control, but that's not 100% the case. The blame for a gambling addiction is not 100% on the gambler and 0% on the casinos. It's somewhere in the middle, maybe even leaning towards more on the casinos with the manipulative tactics and AI that they're using. It's not 100% on the casino. We still have to take responsibility for our own actions, but damn, man, I mean, just like it's so easy to just paint the gambler as the entire problem, and that's what they're relying on to continue to profit. It's just not true. What are the reasons that I stopped gambling? The last day that I gambled, I went on a 12-hour gambling binge. This was after 6 years of gambling for like 12 hours a day. And during the 12-hour binge, I had a bunch of money in my hand and I accidentally dropped it. When I reached down, I realized that, I was nervous. I thought I was going to leave some on the ground, that I was going to get robbed, and it was more money than I had ever had in my hand before. And then when I picked it all up, I had this thought. I was like, well, why don't you just throw the money back on the floor? Because someone else might walk in, pick it up, and leave with it. They might have a good day. But if you keep that money, you're just going to go and gamble it all away. That's exactly what I did. And it was one of the times that I had to stop and ask myself, why are you gambling? And I didn't have an answer that was good enough anymore. So why did I quit gambling? Because it was my time to quit gambling. I was someone that once I started, I couldn't stop, but I had reached this point where why was I doing it anymore? I didn't know. It used to be fun. It used to be a way to try to make money. It used to be a way to make sports more exciting. But by the end, I was just doing it because I thought I should. And that's how sick it got for me. And if you can relate to that, you're in the exact right spot. On this channel, I try to put out content to help you avoid going down the same path with your life that I did with mine, because god damn it, that was awful. And I don't want you to have to go through that same situation. Leaving your wallet at home and bringing a couple bucks twice a month, it could work if in the short term, but you're just prolonging the problem, in my opinion. But again, it's your life. Please do whatever you want and just be safe. Be mindful of what you're doing. But for me, that's just like an excuse that I would use to keep gambling, even though I know it's bad for me. But what's up in the chat? Hey, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. My name's Rob. If you're just seeing me for the first... My name's Rob. If you're just seeing me for the first time, malfunctioned there for a second. If you have any questions about gambling, gambling addiction, or addiction recovery, drop them down below in the chat. And at the 29-minute mark here, I'm going to do a obligatory plug. This video is not sponsored by paid advertising, but my friends over at Open Recovery asked if I could talk about them for a minute. They have a chatbot, an AI chatbot named Kai, and it's linked in the description of this video. It helps you through the 12 steps of recovery and is there as a 24/7 support tool specifically trained in gambling addiction. So check them out if you're interested, if you want to. But again, they didn't pay, so It's just me telling you that I like them because I think they're cool and I like their product. But yeah, any questions about gambling, gambling addiction, addiction recovery, go ahead and drop it. How did I decide to stop? I kind of walked through it, but it was just that I had had enough of making the same mistakes over and over again for no reason in particular. If you're itching to gamble on CSGO to get a really expensive knife and play the game competitively, so that makes the itch harder, I understand that. I think that's probably similar to what a lot of poker players go through. Like, they understand that they have this compulsion to keep going, but it's their job or something to that extent, so they keep going back to it. With that being said, is it worth continuing down a path that you know is harming you? My cat is jumping up behind me, so if he pops up on screen, I have a cat. Is it worth continuing to go down that path if it's bringing you pain, my friend? There's a question that you need to ask yourself. And if it's not, then maybe it's time to switch up. It's up to you. I've never played CSGO. From what I understand from my team, who are, very, very into it, maybe a bit too into it, it can resemble the exact same thing as any type of gambling. In fact, one of my sponsors, Gamban, they just picked up a sponsorship with a professional CSGO team called Ecstatic. So that's been pretty cool. I'm looking to get a jersey. So that'll be nice. Josh says, I had a dream I was gambling months ago. I go to cash out and they gave me coupons and I was like, I want money. And they said, it's just entertainment. Your dream is like, you should just turn your dream into a PSA. That sounds good, man. Gambling problem is very boring. If I have a chance to leave, I don't understand your sentence. I'm sorry. Did I live close to a casino? If so, do you think it contributed to... The cat's gone. Did you live close to a casino? If so, do you think it contributed to your past addiction? Do you have to move to a distance yourself from living near a casino? So with that being said, most of my gambling was done online. I just want you to know that up front. Almost all of it, like 90% of it. However, I did live near Atlantic City. And so growing up, going to dinner with my family, sometimes we'd go to Atlantic City because that's where the nice restaurants were. It was just normal. And so I grew up thinking that gambling was a normal thing. It was something that I wanted to do when I got older. But being near a casino physically doesn't really change anything for me because the majority of my gambling was done online. You ever notice that people with gambling problems have some of the same traits? I noticed the ones in your personality is like this. On the outside, but a hurricane. Okay, on the outside, but a hurricane on the inside. Yeah, a lot of people are able to mask the addiction, right? It's the hidden addiction for a reason. I find that a lot of people with gambling problems tend to be very smart. They tend to be very well-spoken and a bit cunning. Like, I remember being a bit of a liar during my gambling addiction to the point where, I was making up reasons to get money. I was making up reasons that I had to go to the bathroom so often in order to check all my bets. It doesn't really apply to every single person, but yeah, there's a lot of shared character traits that people with a gambling addiction develop. I think it's more of kind of just a survival mechanism to keep the addiction going. Piper says, I stopped because I got evicted and my wife was going to leave me. I stopped just under 10 months ago and my marriage is stronger than ever. Piper, congratulations. That's what it's all about, right? No matter how bad things seem to be going, there's always a way to turn it around and make it better. I'm really happy to hear that, my friend. 10 months clean. Let's keep it going. Why isn't the government doing something to limit the exposure of online casinos? They partner with online casinos to make money. That's why. The state governments are complicit in the predatory nature of gambling because they make money for their tax revenues, for their budgets from gambling. Even though it's kind of like a false thing, there's actually so much damage created from the gambling addiction that it eats into the true spending power of the tax revenue that they generate. But hey, they keep falling for the lie that gambling is a way to raise their state budgets. GA saved your life, living with the in-laws, trying to save money for a place, and paying down debts. Congratulations, man. That's what it's all about. It's gaining that financial clarity of understanding what you need to do next to make the next right decision to keep it rolling, to live a better life one day at a time. It's inspirational. That's amazing stuff. Gambling sports books is fair. I'm imagining you're saying, do they cheat? They don't have to cheat. You're going to lose money because every single bet in the casino, whether it's a sports bet or a game of blackjack or a slot machine, it is all built with a house edge, and over the long run, you will end up losing more often than you win. Started gambling in Clash Royale, not gonna lie. Please actually tell me more about that. That could be a video in itself if it's the truth. If you're experiencing guilt because of a gambling problem, try to weaponize that guilt, right? Say, instead of kicking myself while I'm down, how can I use this feeling to motivate me to make better decisions? How can I learn from the mistakes that I've made so that I don't make the same mistakes again? John says this. I remember I was in the casino once and I was down bad on my last trip to the ATM after pulling out cash. I chuckled to myself and said, "This is the only machine in here that actually pays out." Yeah, that's a good one. I gotta find a way to make that a one-liner because I might steal that one, man. That was pretty good. But I saw someone one time, they said, like, the quickest way to become a millionaire by gambling is to start as a billionaire. Like that, it's just the truth. You're not going to win in the long run. James says, "I'm in active addiction now. How do I stop? It feels like I have no control." James, where are you located? Let's walk through the resources in your local area. Because the first thing that you're going to need is to tell someone else what's going on. Let's start with that. Where do you live? Bolt says, "Do I think some of the recent gambling scandals or increase in addiction with youth will lead to any states reversing gambling laws?" No, I don't. Maybe just prop betting I could see being scaled back, but legalization in general, I don't see it being impacted. I think that gambling companies are going to lobby really hard to have all the sanctions go against the leagues rather than them having any problem. They're going to claim that they were just the ones facilitating the bets. They weren't making the negative actions happen. It was the leagues, it was the mob, right? There's always going to be an answer from the casinos as to why it's not their fault. All right, so James, you're in Australia, which means you have a pretty sound ecosystem for Gamblers Anonymous. So I want you to right now go to gamblersanonymous.org, and I want you to find the meeting closest to you, and I want you to call the number associated with that. Whoever picks up that line is going to be someone in recovery from a gambling addiction, and they are going to walk you through the first steps to recovery. Then I have a video here linked in the description called How I Quit Gambling, and it walks you through the 4 things that I did to stop. The first was finding alternative things to do with my time. The second was limiting my access to money that would tempt me. Third was doing a self-exclusion, which in Australia, I believe you have a national self-exclusion program. And fourth is going to support group meetings like the one I just told you to go check out. Eldon Fish is now to keep out of the casino. That's awesome. Finding alternative things to do with your time, guys. That was the number one thing that I had to do. And for me, in the beginning, I was doing hot yoga. I was going to the gym. I was trying to do all these crazy things. Then I found content creation and it became my full-time job. And now my hobby is actually playing Pokemon, the video game, not the cards, because I would definitely get addicted to the cards. But in the beginning, I really just tried anything to keep myself busy. And life was pretty stale, it felt. But over time, I've began to find pleasure in little things again. How do you keep yourself from never relapsing over time? Slowly and surely, I became someone that just didn't want to gamble that much, my friend. Especially in the things that I was doing before. I just realized the truth about it, right? That everything was designed for me to lose in the long run. I felt manipulated. I felt lied to. It's just something that over time I realized that I was better off without. So this is about Clash. I've been opening crazy amounts of chess trying to get the cards I want, but I really like the stimulation I got from opening Clash chess. Before I thought it was too crazy to buy loot. Yeah, okay. So we do see this pretty strong on-ramp between video games and then into gambling. It's the gaming to gambling pipeline, and it's because they use the same kinds of mechanics, right? Loot boxes and things like that, they get you hooked to this idea of risk and reward the same way that slot machines do. But of course, it's the same exact path to recovery. It's limiting your access to funds that you would use to purchase those loot boxes. It's, I guess you can't self-exclude, but you can delete the app, you can put it into a blocking software, something like that. If you messaged Gamban, I'm sure that they would be able to add that to your individual your individual block list. You could add Clash. Gamban is, again, one of my sponsors here on the channel. But it's the same couple of things. I am sorry to hear about it, but it makes total sense how it happened. Piper says, Connecticut outlawed social casinos, but DraftKings and FanDuel are legal. I have lifetime self-exclusion from them both. Yeah, I think that laws are very picky and choosy with what they call bad versus good, even though I think what we need to do is call a shit sandwich and know that no matter who runs that casino, it's built on the backs of people with addiction. It doesn't matter if it's a social casino like a Fliff or if it's FanDuel or if it's, Bovada. It doesn't matter. It's the same predatory practices, and we need to start calling that out. They say we regulate ourselves, but they self-regulate. They only do what's minimally necessary to look like they're doing something, and they don't actually make a difference or care in the world for someone with a gambling problem. Quote me on that. Let's see. Joe says, I've taken out personal loans, 100K in debt from gambling. Wish you luck. I do wish you luck, my friend. But really what it is going to be, can you get yourself into a meeting? Can you get yourself in front of a financial counselor? There's another group that I work with called GAMFIN, GAMFIN, and then .org. If you go and check out their website, there's a decent chance that they offer free financial counseling for you in your area if you're in the United States. So check that out. But what you really need is clarity. How do I pay this back? How long is it going to take? What do I need to do? And once you have that, it can begin to feel attainable. Till you have that clarity, though, it just feels insane. If you're still enjoying gambling and you don't want to stop, there's literally nothing that I can do for you. And if you decide that you do want to stop, please come back. Just save the page. If you're a subscriber, then you should get notifications when I put out videos. But, you know, there's not much I can do if you don't want to stop, right? But if you do reach that point, this is the exact place for you. You just excluded yourself from stake and you're having trouble finding a new hobby that isn't similar to gambling. Any suggestions? That's I've never heard the question phrased that way, but that's great. Kind of like ownership that you're taking over that reality. Like great, just understanding that the things that you're doing resemble gambling. For me, I started doing hot yoga. I started going outside more. I tried running, but I hated it. I started playing basketball more, which was cool. So I think a lot of my activities in the beginning centered around physically moving. I think that's always a good place to start. And then I started content creation to kind of stimulate my mind, and I play Pokemon now, man. But that's great understanding that like the things that you were doing were resembling gambling, because if they are, you're not giving yourself that chance to heal. You're not giving your brain that chance to heal, which is very important to do. We don't want to go and do things that resemble gambling, or we're going to end up just continuing to gamble more. Isn't it hilarious how we will save $2 to buy the cheaper option at the grocery store, yet below $1,000 gambling? Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely changes your perception of money, because when you're addicted to gambling, money is just your fuel to continue placing bets. It's no longer a means of survival until you stop betting. Then you're like, holy crap, I'm in a terrible position. But yeah, it really does distort our way of thinking. Oh, I made a video about Pokemon, Shaolin. I made a video about the history of gambling in Pokemon, and it has to be one of the worst performing videos I've ever put out on the channel, because apparently I am a nerd and I have this very niche interest, and no one else has it, apparently, of gambling and Pokemon. But yeah, it can absolutely anything can turn into a form of gambling if you're looking at it the wrong way. For me, I will definitely take my Pokemon game over the endless nights of spinning slot machines that I used to have. But yeah, I don't play the card game, because the card game is like, I know this guy that's working on an account online kind of helping people with collecting addiction. It's that same thing of like card breaks. It's very similar to loot boxes, but that's not something I ever got into, and I just think I'll probably screw it up if I did. Andrew says, I don't have any gambling problems, but I like watching your videos because of the storytelling. I think that what a gambling addiction story is just a very strong, very human account of things that went wrong. And then hopefully, in a lot of them, it's how they began to go right. And I think that it's usually a good metaphor for any kind of comeback story, right? You're at the bottom of life. Life is kind of kicking you. It's gone poorly, but it's never too late to turn it around, begin recovery, and begin to rebuild. And so that's what I hope to express in a lot of the videos. So I'm happy to hear that you found the content, my friend. And to anyone here that isn't yet subscribed, let me give you a case for subscribing to the channel. I'm in recovery from a gambling addiction. I made my last bet November the 12th of 2022. Ever since that point, what I realized is I wanted to do something good with my time. I wanted to reach out to people who were struggling the same way that I was, or even people that are going to start struggling in the future, but they just don't know it yet. So if you're someone that gambles, I want you to watch content on this channel, because I don't want to see you go down the same path with your life that I did with mine. And that's the case for being here. If you decide to subscribe, welcome to the community. If you don't, I'm just going to keep yapping either way. So that's pretty much it. Let's see. I lost all my money to gambling. I keep thinking I'm going to get my big break. All wins are future losses. That's the mantra. Keep saying it to yourself. No matter if you get that big win, you're going to end up losing it in the future. And thanks, Angel, for being here. I'm really interested to hear that people that don't have gambling problems still like the content on this page, but I'm really happy to hear that as well. Your addiction was so bad, can't play any games with cards or dice. Even the McDonald's Monopoly game stayed away from. Good understanding of your own temptations and triggers, my friend. Anyone that's like fully aware like that, you're winning. You are winning because you know what to stay away from. You know what gives you those temptations, and you can live a good life, just avoiding a few different things. Just started watching you a little while back. I've tried quitting gambling several times over the last 5 years, but I noticed hardly any resources on YouTube. Not a ton. There's a couple people that make content, but I think that a lot of people in the gambling recovery space, they're not really content creators. They are recovering gamblers who want to share a story. They want to have conversations. And so When you look at YouTube as just this giant market of videos, it becomes very difficult to compete with a Mr. Beast, right? Why is someone going to watch your gambling addiction podcast compared to watching like lava melt through a block of ice, right? Like you need to give a very compelling reason. And so that's why you don't see a lot of resources or people online, is because they're kind of honing the skill of becoming a content creator still. We have to not only maintain our recovery, but try to get our recovery to resonate with other people, which sometimes it's really just flat out boring, which is just the truth. But that's just life. Might be hard for an American. Please interview someone that plays FIFA. EA started with the whole loot boxes things. Yeah, I was playing FIFA when I was in middle school, and I was actually doing the loot boxes to a certain extent. It wasn't ever like a thing I was super compulsive with, but yeah, I know the exact mechanics. And we have a couple videos on the channel that talk about video games and the fact that video games translated into gambling problems, and it's kind of the same structural design. The problem is the framing of the message. Like, how do I get someone to care about FIFA packs if they are currently struggling with a gambling problem? And it's just like, people want to hear stories and people want to hear solutions. And so if I can get someone that was hooked to a FIFA pack to FIFA pack opening and get them to come on the podcast, I think that's one way of doing it. But making like a full like educational video on the FIFA and the FIFA ecosystem probably wouldn't go over that well. B Bear says, you like the video of the Asian guy who lost 600K? Yeah, Ben. Ben's story was awesome. He was such a fantastic speaker. If he could be every single interview, like I would love it. He was so good. Just from like an explanation perspective, you can tell he's been really honing in on his storytelling. I think he's going to end up being a great storyteller if he ever starts making content online. Love those lava videos. Yeah, man. Those are good ones. Sorry if I'm getting behind on questions. We got a good amount of comments coming in, so just thank you guys for engaging. Yes, Drake City says Drake and Aiden Ross are getting sued for promoting gambling. We should have a video up about that sometime in the afternoon Eastern time tomorrow. I recorded it today. It should be about 12 to 15 minutes long, but it's pretty good. It goes into depth about the lawsuits. It goes into depth about the way that streamers make money. And I think that CoffeeZilla is dropping a video about the online gambling epidemic as well. So hopefully that gets a lot of publicity and it gets a lot of people talking about this. How do you change your mindset about gambling? You think if you stop, you're going to miss out on a big win. Oh, you are. You're going to miss out on a big win, but who cares? Because once you got that big win, what were you going to do with it? Were you going to quit after you got it? You weren't going to quit. You were going to keep going and try to get another one and another one and another one. And eventually that win would become a loss. So when you stop gambling, you do lose the ability to win, but you also lose the ability to lose. And if you keep gambling, the only outcome is that you're going to lose everything. So. Mr. Colas, thank you for being here, for spreading love. I appreciate it. I work hard to put out this content, and it's always nice to get in touch with you guys, to hear your feedback, and to know that it's resonating with you when I put out a piece of content. A big win is just more ammunition, absolutely. Austin says, do any of my friends gamble? Yes, they still do. But no one that I was friends with gambled the way that I was gambling. When they would gamble, or when they do gamble, they bet a couple of dollars and they're happy whether or not they win or lose. Not happy, maybe content is a better word. For me, I couldn't stop once I started. And so everyone assumes that when I put out content about like gambling addiction, that I want to see like everything burn and no one be able to gamble. And that's just not true. Like, if you are having fun with it, that's great. What I think is the truth is that this industry is built on addiction. It can't survive without addiction the way it's been designed thus far. And my friends are not the ones that are fueling the giant industry profits. It's people like me, and it's people like maybe some of you guys that are gambling every single day, thinking about gambling every single day. We're the ones that are being manipulated and gambling in a compulsive way. Pat says, do I think moral stigma that gambling used to have will ever return, or has gambling been forever normalized? I think gambling's been forever normalized, but I think what's dangerous is that gambling has been normalized as a way to make money among some generations, which is insane, but true. So I think that a lot of people in the like 14 to 25-year-old range believe that sports betting is a way to make money in the long run, which I think is particularly scary. I do think that eventually, and it's my hope in some of the work that I do, the stigma returns to gambling being a way to make money, because it should have a stigma because it's not a way to make money. But I think that gambling as a thing that exists in society has now forever become normal. Tara, thank you so much for being here. I'm happy to hear that you like the content. I'm sorry to hear that you're in some financial trouble right now. Staying focused is awesome. Staying positive is awesome. But make sure that you are just staying aware. Because when I first quit gambling, I didn't know how long it would take me to pay things off. I didn't know what to do first. I didn't know practically what steps to take. And so it felt overwhelming. And I kept thinking to myself, if I just get one big win, I can solve all this. I can just go back and get one more, right? So without clarity, it leads us to that kind of thinking, which inevitably causes more problems. So make sure that in your recovery, you're not only staying focused and positive, but you're also just staying aware of the reality of what needs to be done for you to keep going, to keep going in recovery. Ruben, thanks so much for the love, man. I appreciate it. What about card counters? They just get kicked out of casinos anyway. It's kind of a moot point. Let's see. Oh, this is good. Whenever we get like a lot of people trolling on a live stream, it means that it's hit the YouTube algorithm. So there must be a lot of you in this chat that don't yet know me. So I'm going to reintroduce myself real quick. My name's Rob, and I'm in recovery from a gambling addiction. This might be your first time seeing me, so I want to give you this context. I made my last bet November the 12th of 2022, and now I make content here on YouTube, on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook aimed at helping you to avoid going down the same path with your life that I did with mine. So if you're into gambling and you're enjoying it, that's great. This is still the place for you, because the day that you ask yourself, why am I doing this? And you no longer have an answer that makes sense to you, you'll know exactly where to go to get help. I thought that I was the only person on earth that had a gambling problem. But the truth was, I just couldn't find anyone else online that had a gambling problem. Millions of people are struggling, whether out loud or in silence. And I'm happy to have you here, whether you're happy to be here or not. Just paid off 50K gambling debt and done with it. Congratulations, my friend. That is awesome. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, it's all about just like these little wins, right? Not that 50K is little, like it's a big ass win, but it's just about like, hey, this guy just turned his life around. That is amazing. And it's something that anyone can do that's in this chat. You got this. Professor, it's okay to have lost everything. Let's figure out what went wrong and make sure that it doesn't happen again. If you're someone that gambles in a way that I gambled, you're probably someone that can't stop once you start. And if that's the case, there's 4 things to focus on. It's finding alternative things to do with your time, limiting access to money that'll tempt you to gamble, going to support group meetings, and self-excluding from the casinos. In the description of this video, I have a link to a video I made called How I Quit Gambling. It is a 1 hour long, yes, I know it's long, but it's a 1 hour long video, and I really recommend watching it if you're someone that wants to stop, because it walks you through everything that I've done to get myself clean and stay clean for almost 3 years now. Also, this video has been brought to you by Open Recovery. It's not a paid sponsorship. I'm doing this because I like them. Check them out in the description as well. They have an AI chatbot that walks you through the 12 steps of recovery and is there 24/7 for you with any questions you have about gambling addiction. What's the most I lost in one bet? Why do you want to know? Let me know. I'm trying to put the message out so people are aware of what's going on. Exactly what I'm trying to do here, King. It's just like gambling awareness, right? I'm not here to walk everyone through the process of recovery. I'm here to tell you how I got better, but I'm not a gambling addiction coach, right? I'm a guy that makes YouTube videos. What I want to do here is to prove to the world that this is a problem. This is a public health crisis. And that if people are struggling around the world, we need to be there to support them. We need to invest resources. We need to spread awareness. This is a real thing, and it's destroying lives. When you mentioned in your vids about having your headphones on and keep your phone spinning, man, I can relate to that all too well. For those that don't know what he's talking about, when I was in the worst of my gambling, I would take my phone to somewhere like the gym, and I'd be lifting, and I'd put my phone on auto spin, usually on like a pragmatic play slot, and that would be on like stake or something like that. And I'd just put it under the bench, and I'd just listen to the sound coming in through my headphones. And I knew how much each spin won or lost vaguely based on the sound that it made. I memorized the soundboard of the pragmatic play slot machines because that's how compulsive I was. That's how much time I was spending gambling. And if you can relate to that, then yeah, this channel's for you. You're in the right spot. Have you made all your money back that you lost? Yes, but not from gambling. Let's see. I feel like my life will be boring. My money will be spent on gambling or going out. I feel like I have some benefit from gambling, but I'm losing more than winning. So if you're still enjoying gambling, then there's really little that I can tell you to get you to actually stop. But what I will say is that it's a different experience fundamentally, gambling versus a night out, say at a bar. When you go out to a bar and say you buy a $8 beer, $8 pint, you pay $8 and you get $8 of beer. When you go and you gamble $8, you are giving them $8 with the intention of making more money. But the reality is that you're supposed to lose. So you're paying $8 to be defrauded. You are basically being a victim of financial fraud every time that you place a bet because you have a different assumption of what the reality is than what will actually end up happening in the long run. It's a little dramatic, I guess, when I say it like that, but that's just the truth. You're not getting something of equivalent value. You're getting this false belief that you have a chance to win. I found the more I learned about how the odds were stacked against a gambler, it made the idea of making money gambling go away. And thanks for the videos. Well, thank you for being here, my friend. Yes, having clarity on the reality of gambling is one thing that really made a difference for me. It's gotten me to reach this point where I don't crave sports betting or casino games at all because I know that if I show up, I'm supposed to lose. I'm not supposed to make money on these things. And Emrod says, I'm just curious to know, I guess I compare myself and maybe to others. So that was in the question of how much was my biggest loss. And that's the exact reason that I didn't answer the question, my friend. People think that a gambling addiction is measured by how much money you lost. That if I lost more money than you, then my gambling addiction is worse. But the reality is the amount of money that we have access to is different. So everything that I lost was everything that I had plus all the money that I could borrow. 6 different times over 6 years, I went into debt to the point that I had to work a second job to pay it off. I lost everything and more many, many times. And so I like to say that rather than giving you a number because the number doesn't really paint the full story for everyone. So OSW says, great channel, keep going. The world needs more content like this. I appreciate that, my friend. And yes, we're going to continue to see more videos being made about online gambling. Hopefully we see more videos coming out like this. And Emrod, yes, I love phrasing it that way. I actually love answering that question, right? Because so many like news stations will ask the same questions. They'll be like, oh, Rob, like how much did you lose? How bad did it get? And I love to just illustrate it with a reality rather than a number because, you know, a number to someone is just different to someone else. How do I support myself now? Full-time content creator and marketing firm about gambling addiction without having to charge any of you $1. It's a wonderful thing. YouTube being just this beautiful platform where you can monetize yourself without having to monetize your audience is just it's a phenomenal reality. Piper says, love the channel. I appreciate it, my friend. If I missed your question, feel free to just re-ask. I'm doing my best to keep up with what's coming in, but of course, things are coming in pretty quick. 2 weeks done gambling, down a bit over time. Big wins, but bigger losses. Felt like I was late night binging with nicotine and gambling. How did my sleep get affected? When I was gambling, I didn't sleep very well because I was constantly waking up in the night to check on bets that I had placed and then place more and then go back to bed. So most of my gambling just kind of took place, my gambling took place 24/7. So the stress of that and just constantly having something to check on that would like send me a jolt in my body, like that would actually lead to a lot of stress and wake me up a lot. Thomas, thank you for the love. I appreciate that, my friend. Best way to walk away from gambling, find alternative things to do with your time, limit your access to money that'll tempt you, self-exclude from the casinos, and go to support group meetings. Check the description of this video for a link to a 1 hour long video that I made. I know it's long, but it is worth your time on how I quit gambling and how I've been clean for almost 3 years now. And while you're there, if you find that you're enjoying the content, if you find that this is valuable, if you find that you can relate to what I'm talking about, please hit that subscribe button. It is one free way for you to support the growth of this channel. And the more people that are subscribed, the more people see the video, the more people see the video, the more YouTube recommends it. And then we get more people showing up and getting resources. So I appreciate you guys. How did I get computer savvy? I don't know. I think I just kind of grew up in a computer environment. I wish I had a better answer for that. Let's see. If you hate your life, you're in the exact right spot because life can get better. Life will get better when we leave it in the past and we begin the process of recovery. Don't give up on yourself. Has my credit score recovered? Yes, it has. I have a good credit score. I think it's like a 785, I think. 86, 786, something like that. Would I take a casino deal for 100K a month? No, but it would make me curious, like, why do you think I'm worth 100K a month? And then I would probably go and try to take another deal that isn't a casino deal for a similar price, using it as a reference. But no, I wouldn't take it. Selling my soul to the devil. How do I really feel after walking away? Finances are great again. Finances are good. Money comes slower, but money stays longer. So that's a very important caveat there. But in the beginning, life was tough. I gave up the thing that I thought I loved to do more than anything else. But over time, it gradually got easier as my brain began to heal. Do I miss gambling? No, I really don't. In the beginning, I did. But at this point, I just have so many other things that I can do with my time. It's really okay. Day 4, no gambling. Congratulations, my friend. What brings me joy these days? I play a lot of Pokemon. And people are like, Pokemon's gambling. I don't play the cards because I think I would get addicted to them. But I've been playing the video game, and I've been going to like these really nerdy events where I'll go and I'll be in like the basement of a comic book store playing on my Nintendo Switch. But I just love doing it. It's very similar to like chess, I think. It would be a really good comparison. So yeah, guys, I'm a nerd. Welcome. My name's Rob, and I'm a nerd, and I'm in recovery from a gambling addiction. Made my last bet November the 12th of 2022. And I'm going to be going live Wednesday nights around this time, and I'm definitely going to be doing it in this vertical format. So if you're not a subscriber to the channel, totally understand. Hopefully we see each other again, maybe in a week, maybe in 2 weeks, maybe in 3 weeks. But I'm going to be coming on, I'm going to be talking about my story, and hopefully, we begin the process of recovery together. It can be really hard at first when we don't know what to do, when we feel like we're the only people on earth with this problem. But this channel's aim is to help kind of bridge that gap. And what was the breaking point to quit will be the last question that I answered tonight. The breaking point that I reached was at the last day that I gambled was a 12-hour gambling binge. And I had a bunch of money in my hand that accidentally fell on the floor. I picked that money back up and I was freaking out. And I had this thought: throw the money back on the floor. Because I had reached this point where I gambled every day for 6 years. And I no longer had a reason that I was doing it. If I threw that money back on the floor, someone else might have picked it up and left with it. But I was just going to gamble it all away. And I realized that gambling was always going to end that way for me, because once I started, I could not stop. And if that sounds like you, then this is the place for you. And I'm really happy that you're here. I want to thank all of you in the chat. This has been a really cool YouTube live. We usually don't get this many people. These comments have been awesome. If I didn't answer your question, I don't want you to be upset. I want you to come back next time and ask it again. I can't wait to answer it. Thank you so much for being here. And once again, let's just keep getting better together, one day at a time.